Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, here with Doug.
Hey.
It's Star Wars time.
Yeah.
I just finished Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah.
Which I was like really looking forward to this one. I don't know why.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
You've consistently asked me over the last 3 days, is it better than Survivor? I don't know why, but Survivor, I waited Jedi Survivor. I waited a year to play that thing. I had this thing pre-ordered 6 months ago. It's I don't know why. Just in my mind, everything about this, I was way more excited. I think the biggest thing to me is the time period, because it takes place between Empire and Jedi. So it's a weirdly not focused on time period of the last 10 years. You don't get much in that zone, because everything's Clone Wars, everything's post Return of Jedi, everything's High Republic. So now we're right in that 90s child Brad Star Wars zone.
Well, that's so funny, because you said it's between Empires and Jedi. I was like, oh, okay, most stuff is, and you're and then I didn't realize until just now that that's not a time period. That's why the whole timeline to me is so well explored at this point that there is not a unique. Is that where Survivor's tech takes place, or am I totally wrong on that?
Survivor is I don't remember.
That
Survivor is I think that's closer to A New Hope somewhere. I don't remember where, but yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I don't know what my issue with Survivor is. I had lots of issues with that. Anyway, but Star Wars Outlaws. So a lot of things going against it that I just want to start off the bat with, and we'll kind of come back and address those. It's an Ubisoft game.
Yeah, which we always complain about.
Which we complain about
in our text
constantly. I don't know if I don't know how much we do on here, because we don't ever play Ubisoft games.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anyway, so it's an Ubisoft game by the Division team. I've played both Division games. Never really enjoyed any of it.
Oh, funny. I really like Division. I like Division
There's
a lot,
that. And then it's very stealth focused, which I do not like stealth games. So
sure.
Right off the bat, everything gameplay and game design wise was just a huge red flag to me, but story stuff I was really looking forward to. So to kind of get into what the game is, you are Kay Vess, who is kind of this down on her luck outlaw. And basically you try to do this one big job to get off this planet, get out, and then that kind of spirals into the story. So from there, you get the okay, you meet this guy, and he's like, well, come do this big job with me. It'll be the last job you ever need to do. We just need to go assemble our crew. Story. And that's kind of the bare bones of the story, which I really struggled with the game for about the first 2 or 3 hours, just because it was just that. There wasn't much meat to it. It was really just new character I've never met before. Yep, she doesn't seem too happy here. Oh, there's a guy who's just offering me lots of money to do a job. Okay. And it just kind of plays through that really slowly to start with. And I kind of struggled to kind of get a sense of what I was even doing here.
Do you have expectations for a Star Wars story that this was not meeting for that first bit? I don't know I mean you've read so much Star Wars stuff and know so much Star Wars stuff. Is there a certain thing you're expecting from a Star Wars story when you first start open it? Yeah.
I don't think so. And this particularly, just with it being kind of this more oh, you're going with the syndicates and the outlaws and the underground and all that kind of criminal organizations. That I don't feel is quite as well explored, which is I think what draws a lot of people to this type of stuff. So I didn't really have much expectations. I literally just think it's one of those where it's this is such a, for lack of a better phrase, just a boring premise. Oh, I'm down on my luck. I need to go rob the rich guy in town.
Yeah.
Oh, I went and robbed the rich guy in town and got caught, and now I'm on this journey. And then once you start getting into the more Star Wars-iness of it, is when it's oh, okay, it opens up. There's some Star Wars stuff there. That's where it started really getting good. I want to focus on that because the thing with this game is it nails the Star Wars feeling flawlessly. If you had to so if you had to take what it would feel like to be in a Star Wars world, this is it. When you go to these places, you interact with these characters, you go to the way that you're handling and moving through things, just it feels like you're in a Star Wars show, movie, whatever. It feels like a Star Wars story. I think a lot of games it's oh yes, I am a Jedi walking through this town and everyone is just going hi Jedi, you know what I mean, that sort of thing. This feels lived in a way that feels natural and unique to Star Wars. You go into a cantina and there's just people talking and hanging out and they're offering jobs, and some of them seem nice and some of them seem a little dirty and some of them seem like they've got some things going on. And then you're just speeding around and there's Empire troops with checkpoints. There's all this stuff that just really, really makes you feel like it's a Star Wars game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's interesting because the one thing I always thought was kind of, and that Star Wars does really unique is like a lived-in world. It does seem like in the movies there's a lot of other things happening that aren't necessarily focused on the characters. But when you play the games, I'm again thinking back to Jedi Survivor. There's not a lot. It's just kind of you and characters that are important to your character. Yeah, it's a character. Yes, and characters are important to Cal Kestis, and that's like it. But this one it's actually more that like lived in sort of like there are characters who don't matter to you, are just existing in this world.
And I think that's part of it because Kay could give two shits about the rebellion and the Empire. Like it's just that is like the whole conflict between the rebels and the Empire is just background noise in this game. Yeah. You interact with the Empire, you interact with some rebels, you do some things to, between the two, to not get too much into spoilers, but those two do come into play a little bit later, more so than they do at the beginning, but it's background noise. You see like Emperor checkpoints and just goes, ugh, Empire's everywhere, this sucks. Then you walk through a checkpoint.
Oh, that's cool.
Like at one point fairly early on, you meet somebody from the Rebel Alliance and you're like, you guys are just crazy. Will you just stop? Like just stop. Like, and that's literally her voice. She's just yeah, whatever. You're not going to do anything. They're big. It's the Empire. Just go away. Like, leave me alone. Like, she's just dismissive of it. Like, it's just that kind of stuff where it's just like, it feels unique to this game. And it's something that Fallen Order, Survival, Battlefront, those games don't do just because they are so singular. Like, we are telling the story of Cal Kestis. We are, even the shows, we are telling the story of Cassian Andor. Like, we are telling this
of
thing.
An important person sort of thing.
Not just, Kay is, from the beginning of this game to the end of this game, a fairly irrelevant character in the greater Star Wars universe. At no point are we trying to like Cal Kestis her and make her like, oh, but this last Jedi and this Jedi who survived. Yeah. It's just, she has a ship. She did some shit. She robbed some people. Moving on.
That's interesting. So it's like the irrelevancy is like a plus for you.
Yeah.
Because it's not. Oh, that's cool. That's interesting.
Yeah. The overall story, like I said, the overall story is kind of just blah, probably because of that. Just kind of, whatever, because of that. But the thing that it nails is that lived-in world feeling. Mm-hmm. So once the game opens up, you do get to go to 3 planets. You go to Tatooine, because of course. Mm-hmm. Akiva, which is a new one, and Kijimi, which is from Rise of Skywalker. So you get 1 new planet, 2 old ones, and you do start in Canto Bight, which is the casino world from Last Jedi. So you get all these different things. So you get a couple new worlds, couple old worlds to kind of explore. The old worlds are cool. Canto Bight is very cool. You do like a couple things in that big cool casino that you see in the movie that are fun.
Yeah, that actually sounds awesome. Yeah.
That are fun. Just because it is all very syndicate based. It's all these criminal organizations. So you do start there. You do that. Tatooine is the like, how many Star Wars references can we fit in here? Because obviously at this point in time, Han Solo is in Carbonite in Jabba's palace, and you are a scoundrel who may or may not work with the Hutt cartel. Like, so it's like, okay, how many things can we get with Jabba? Oh yeah, like Mos Eisley is the wretched hive of scum and villainy. Of course we have to go there because we're an outlaw. So it's just like the whole time you're on Tatooine, it's like, here's something, and there's so many like little like, ha ha ha! Did you hear what I said? Did you hear?
I mean, you're kind of talking down on it, but I mean, is there part of you that's like, all right, that was good, or like, are like, how do you feel when they do that kind of? Because the whole series is very referential now.
Yes, it is, like, and this is we'll have a spoiler video later, and there is one section of my spoiler video that is literally just, here are all the connections to everything, because it is so ungodly, unwieldy how many are here. Like, I literally like went through it 3 times, and I was like, the third time I was like, no, I forgot. Oh yeah, I forgot about this major person who shows up. That's a big deal. I forgot they were even in here. Whoops.
Yeah.
90% of it was just like, okay, like eye rolling. Like,
yeah.
I'm going to spoil like one small one. On Tatooine, you go to Docking Bay 94. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
You're just staring at me blankly. So
I don't know. I watched the movies. I don't know. And I watched them a few times, but that's about all I got.
Docking Bay 94 would be where the Millennium Falcon is parked in A New Hope when Luke first meets Han. So it's like, oh yeah, meet me in Docking Bay 94. And you're like, oh God, okay. Yeah. Ha ha ha. It's so much of that where it's just like, okay, yep. I will say there is one particular part, and it's just found through doing like open world exploring, that I thought was very, very cool and very unique. Okay. And I really enjoyed. There is a couple characters that naturally fit into this, and again, I'm not going to spoil who they are. that I thought were used really well in this, and kind of like, oh yeah, like that's a good use of that character. So
is it cool though? Like, is it cool kind of exploring those areas that are where, because we're kind of going back to her being a nobody. Is it kind of cool walking around Jabba's palace as a nobody and like in just like as like this like lived in sort of, because I imagine like some of that referential stuff, like actually walking into that bar and they don't immediately care about you and you're just like one of the scoundrels in this, in like the sky, you know, whatever villainy sort of thing. Is it just neat doing that?
Yeah, to a point, but like I think because, like you said, the series has become so just self-referential that like we can't have a Star Wars thing without being on Tatooine. Like Tatooine must be one of the only 10 planets in the system that ever has anything relevant, because everything happens on Tatooine, despite it being like a backwoods, like nothing planet.
Oh, interesting. Oh, like Tatooine's supposed to be an irrelevant planet in the Star Wars universe, but you keep going back there. Oh, that's interesting.
Outside of Jabba the Hutt, there's literally like there's not much there. So it's like there's just kind of this like normal like whatever planet, but literally like name a Star Wars thing and Tatooine is in there somehow.
Yeah.
Kajimi, the other one, like I have no love for the 9th movie, so no love for Rise of Skywalker. So I was like, it took me a second. I was like, Kajimi, like I know that name, I know that. Oh yeah, that's where Poe Dameron goes, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, we'll forget that happened. Moving on. So that one didn't really matter to me too much. But yeah, lots of referential, lots of that kind of stuff as you're going through here. The gameplay is that
12 minutes.
I like Star Wars. You asked about Star Wars questions. Like that's kind of
that's what makes this game interesting. I can't imagine the Ubisoft gameplay is going to be the interesting part of this conversation.
No, I don't. So feel free to skip ahead a minute and a half. But anyway, the gameplay is very stealth based because you are doing lots of sneaking. You sneak into a bunch of Empire bases. You sneak into a bunch of like gangsters, like upper rooms and back rooms and things like that. And for the most part, the stealth is like my level of stealth, where it's like, there is no way on earth that guy can't see me out of the corner of his eye, but I am not directly in front of him, so we're good. Which I appreciate because I don't like hard stealth things, but if you're like, oh, cool stealth gameplay, like it's very much I almost call it like PS2 era stealth, where it's like, I have my vision cone, and if you're not in my vision cone, it does not matter what you're doing.
I mean, I guess, but there's like a whole series of that's very good. So like, I mean, so that's the thing. I don't. What's the? So I mean, it's like, what makes? This is a totally different conversation, but like, what makes Metal Gear Solid stealth fun and this one not so fun? Is it just because it just feels pretty basic?
I don't know. I feel like Metal Gear. I feel like Metal Gear Solid in my mind is like that was again like I use the phrase like it feels like a PS2 game. Like that was when Metal Gear Solid was. Like that is Metal Gear Solid. Like Metal Gear Solid 5 played with a lot of things to make it improved, whereas this is just like guys standing in an open room. You can hide behind the barrel, and I don't feel like that barrel's tall enough, but I'm behind the barrel, so that guy can't see me. Yeah. Like that kind of stuff. But yeah, so about 70% of it is that, and then it's like 30% just like crazy ass shootouts, which feels like very like opposed to each other. Like it's like we don't quite have the guts to go hard in on the stealth, so it'll be like, oh yeah, so kind of one of the reoccurring loop, and it does get a little repetitive, one of the reoccurring loops is like you're in an Empire base and we have to sneak in and get the thing, and you get the thing, and then alarms go off, and it's like, all right, now shoot your way back out. So it's just like you get used to the stealth, and it's like, oh, stealth doesn't matter anymore, just light them all up. And it's like, but why did it matter? So it's just one of those where it's just kind of, it felt opposed to it. I didn't mind the shooting gameplay. You get a blaster and that's it, and then you can kind of pick up weapons and basically use them till the clip's gone. And so a lot of it's just you shooting with your blaster. So again, just it get kind of repetitive with that, where it's just like, okay, like blaster. Oh, look, a rifle. Oh, out, blaster for the duration of the game. There are some very cool escape scenes where you're like running through like hangar bays and stuff like that to get to the ship that feel very cool, but again, it just has that repetitive feeling gameplay wise.
Once you've done like 3 cool escapes, the third one.
Exactly. Yeah. Kind of my last thought on this is the characters in this are very odd. There is so much pop-in character in this where it's just hi, I'm here now. And you're like, great, best friend. Nice to meet you. Yeah. There's probably 4 or 5 instances of that where it's just like this person shows up and Kay's like, who are you? I'm so-and-so. All right, you're helping me? I guess.
So
let's go right off into the spaceship together. Like,
I mean, does that work? I mean, that kind of, it's not kind of like the concept though of the game, because usually like when I'm thinking like crime movies, it's like, well, the boss wants us to work together sort of thing. And I don't know.
It's not even that though.
Oh, okay.
It's like okay, legitimately great. Like there is one character early on. You steal a ship to get off the first world, and literally like you crash your ship, and he just you like go do a mission, you show up, and he's like, "Hey, I fixed your ship." And Kay's like, "Okay, cool." Okay. He's like, "But to fix it all the way, I'm going to need to come with you somewhere." And you're like, "Okay, bud, let's go."
Is that not like a major plot point at some point or something? Like, it's
no, he is
really?
a very like. He is there. He's on your ship for a little bit. Some things happen. He's not on your ship. Like, it's literally just there for like 4 hours. And again, this is after Kay has like robbed like one of the biggest gangsters and has this death mark. Yeah. And this random guy just shows up. It's like, I'm fixing your ship. Let's hang out.
And she's like cool with it.
And she's like 100%. She's like, oh, okay. Here are the keys. Yeah. Like, and that happens a couple times. There is the like obvious, like the guy who we're working for has recruited us and says, I need to go get the droid guy, the heavy guy, and the splicer, like, let's go get him. And it's just like, okay, that I can deal with, but where it's just like legitimately characters just showing up and be like, you K-Vess, huh? We're working together now. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So a little bit there. The characters also just, there's no connection. Like, I felt nothing. There's some reveals towards the end and outlaw, underworld, double crosses, and it's just like, I felt nothing. Yeah. For anybody who's not Kay. Like, Kay I really liked. Kay is a great character. Kay is fun. Kay is
interesting.
Super interesting, but just every side character is just like the most archetypal character you can imagine with like nothing interesting going on.
Okay, sorry. I was gonna say, isn't that Star Wars though? With the archetypal stuff, not nothing interesting going on, but isn't that kind of like a Star Warsy character? Like, be a very archetypal. I guess what makes a standard archetypal Star Wars character work, and then an Outlaws archetypal character just like not work?
The lack of like depth or conversation of anything. Like literally it's like, okay, so like we go get the bomb maker. We talk to him for 20 seconds. We're back on the ship. We talk to him for 20 seconds. We're moving on.
Okay.
He shows up 2 hours later to say some things. We're moving on. So these characters that are like part of your crew, you really only have, very limited time with. By no means did I 100% this. So there's, for sure some side stuff that I missed, didn't get into. I did a little bit of it here and there, but the one exception being ND5, who's the big droid that you hang out with. Like, there is some really good character stuff between him and Kay. You get some flashbacks of Kay's backstory, and kind of the way her backstory goes and the way that she kind of interacts with this droid work really, really well together. That's like the one shining character moment. Like, this is really good. Sure. How come all these other characters are doing nothing for anybody right now?
Yeah. That's fair. That's kind of a bummer, because I think with Mass Effect's obviously not the same thing, but like Mass Effect just has like a bazillion interesting little characters, and like this one couldn't eke out a few.
Yes, it's like, okay, so if you meet Rex and Rex is like, I'm a big tough guy with a shotgun, you're like, oh cool, Rex, tell me more about you. One time I shot something with my shotgun, and you're like, okay, Rex, what else? Did I tell you about my shotgun?
There's no genophage sort of.
Yes, exactly. We lose all Rex, that. That's what I'm saying. Where it's just like Rex is big guy with shotgun. Ank is guy who blows stuff up.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I think in my mind, I like this game because of the Star Wars. Like, I really, really do actually like this game. But in the other part of my mind, I'm like, if you took out the words Star Wars, Empire, Rebels, and a couple other things, I'd be like, this is a slog. This is not going anywhere. Like, why am I playing this? What am I doing? It is purely a game that I think lives and dies by your investment in Star Wars. Sure, your investment in seeing other things happening around the Empire Rebel conflict, seeing things happening inside of that conflict that we don't normally get to witness as much, kind of in the same way that Andor kind of shows off some things happening underneath a lot of things. It's got that same feeling of like, we're seeing things in this world from a perspective that we're not getting. And I think that's what really did it for me. And I think that if you don't have that desire, I don't think this game is going to do much for you, because I do think it is fairly by the numbers gameplay wise. The story itself isn't there, especially if you don't know a lot of Star Wars stuff. I think it's one of those where it's like, Star Wars itself is a 9 out of 10 for me. This game, probably about a 9 out of 10 for you. Star Wars is a 5 out of 10 for you. This game, probably a 5 out of 10 for you.
Sure.
It will live and die based on your connection to Star Wars.
Yeah. But a little bit of connection. I'm so curious. I'm like genuinely curious about this game because I kind of enjoy Star Wars, like enough to pick it up eventually. But that idea, because I really liked in Red Dead Redemption 2 of just wandering and not being the most important person in the room sounds really cool.
Yes, and that is what it does exceptionally well. So maybe that alone is enough to get you there. But
maybe
we are Workforce Gaming. Leave a comment below. Subscribe to our channel. There's a link to support us on Coffee as well. We'll see you later.
Bye.